All right, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Man, this weekend was pretty interesting. My wife and I celebrated Mother's Day with my family, with my parents yesterday, or Saturday, because it was so sunny and so it was still a little chilly, but not too bad. We set up a picnic table outside by our condo and maintained social distancing. We put the food on the table. My parents sat at the table, and my wife and I ate on paper plates about 6 feet away from them. Such a great day. And Mother's Day itself it's really cold out there. It looks like it was snowing a little bit out there. So anyways, just hope you guys were able to get out Saturday a little bit, and hope you guys were able to enjoy Mother's Day. Don't need to go to a brunch as long as you guys are acknowledging your mother and showering her with love. That's the most important thing. Okay. All right, so we're going to do chapters 20 and 21 today. We left off in chapter 19 where Mr. Sir found a sunflower seeds. Joe, stop it. Found a sunflower seeds. Okay,
this is
Joe.
what Joe does to get our attention. He says, please, I would like
Stop
to
it.
go outside.
Stop it. See, just get a cat, she said. It's going to be fun, she said. Nope, stop it.
These are all the books we're reading during quarantine.
Okay, we're done. Come on, we got to go. Okay, so anybody want a cat? It doesn't get along with others, though. All right, so chapter 19 saw Stanley taking the blame, basically, for sunflower seeds. And so I think the kids were kind of surprised he did that. But, you know, that's kind of like a code that people don't throw each other under the bus if you can help it, okay? All right, chapter 20. It felt good to walk in... Look at him. Look at him. Look. Just do the camera. Do it. Show him.
Oh, now it's too late.
Okay,
He was putting his head in the paper bag,
Okay, all right.
in the plastic bag.
Hope you guys enjoyed that little interlude with Joe there. It takes up a few minutes. All right, chapter 20. It felt good to walk in the shade of the two oak trees. Stanley wondered if this was how a condemned man felt on his way to the electric chair, appreciating all the good things in life for the last time. They had to step around holes to get to the cabin door. Stanley was surprised to see so many around the cabin. He would have expected the warden to not want the campers digging so close to their home. But several holes were right up against the cabin wall. The holes were closer together here as well and were of different shapes and sizes. Mr. Sir knocked on the door. Stanley still held the empty sack. Yes, the warden said, opening the door. There's been a little trouble out on the lake, Mr. Sir said. Caveman will tell you all about it. The warden stared at Mr. Sir a moment, then her gaze turned toward Stanley. He felt nothing but dread now. Come in, I suppose, said the warden. You're letting the cold out. It was air-conditioned inside her cabin. The television was going. She picked up the remote and turned it off. She sat down on a canvas chair. She was barefoot and wearing shorts. Her legs were as freckled as her face and arms. So what is it you have to tell me? Stanley took a breath to steady himself. While Mr. Sir was filling the canteens, I snuck into the truck and stole his sack of sunflower seeds. I see. She turned to Mr. Sir. And that's why you brought him here? Yes, but I think he's lying. I think someone else stole the sack and Caveman is covering up for X-ray or somebody. It was a 20-pound sack and he claims to have eaten them all by himself. He took the sack from Stanley and handed it to the warden. I see, the warden said again. The sack wasn't full, said Stanley, and I spilled a lot. You could check my hole. In that room, Caveman, there's a small flowered case. Will you get it for me, please? She pointed to a door. Stanley looked at the door, then at the warden, the back of the door, and he slowly walked toward it. It was a kind of dressing room with a sink and a mirror. Next to the sink, he saw the case, white with pink roses. He brought it back out to the warden, and she set it on the glass coffee table in front of her. She unclasped the latch and opened the case. It was a makeup case. Stanley's mother had one similar to it. He saw several bottles of nail polish, polish remover, a couple of lipstick tubes, and other jars of powders. The warden held up a small jar of dark red nail polish. You see this, Caveman? He nodded. This is my special nail polish. Do you see the dark, rich color? You can't buy that in a store. I have to make it myself. Stanley had no idea why she was showing it to him. He wondered whether the warden would ever have the need to wear nail polish or makeup. Do you want to know my secret ingredient? He raised and lowered one shoulder. The warden opened the bottle. Rattlesnake venom. With a small paintbrush, she began applying it to the nails on her left hand. It's perfectly harmless when it's dry. She finished her left hand. She waved it in the air for a few seconds, then began painting the nails on her right hand. It's only toxic when it's wet. She finished painting her nails, then stood up. She reached over and touched Stanley's face with her fingers. She ran her sharp, wet nails very gently down his cheek. He felt his skin tingle. The nail on her pinky just barely touched the wound behind his ear. A sharp sting of pain caused him to jump back. The warden turned to face Mr. Sir, who was sitting on the fireplace hearth. So, you think he stole your sunflower seeds? No. He says he stole them, but I think it was... She stepped toward him and struck him across the face. Mr. Sir stared at her. He had 3 long red marks slanting across the left side of his face. Stanley didn't know if the redness was caused by her nail polish or his blood. It took a moment for the venom to sink in. Suddenly, Mr. Sir screamed and clutched his face with both hands. He let himself fall over, rolling off the hearth and onto the rug. The warden spoke softly. I don't especially care about your sunflower seeds, Mr. Sir moaned. If you must know, said the warden, I liked it better when you smoked. For a second, Mr. Sir's pain seemed to recede. He took several long, deep breaths. Then his head jerked violently, and he let out a shrill scream, worse than the one before. The warden turned to Stanley. I suggest you go back to your hole now. Stanley started to go, but Mr. Sir lay in the way. Stanley could see the muscles on his face jump and twitch. His body writhed in agony. Stanley stepped carefully over him. Is he? Excuse me, said the warden. Stanley was too frightened to speak. He's not going to die, the warden said, unfortunately for you. Chapter 21. It was a long walk back to his hole. Stanley looked out through the haze of heat and dirt at the other boys lowering and raising their shovels. Camp D was the farthest away. He realized that once again he would be digging long after everyone else had quit. He hoped he finished before Mr. Sir recovered. He didn't want to be out there alone with Mr. Sir. He won't die, the warden had said, unfortunately for you. Walking across the desolate wasteland, Stanley thought about his great-grandfather, not the pig stealer, but the pig stealer's son, the one who was robbed by kissing Kate Barlow. He tried to imagine how he must have felt after kissing Kate had left him stranded in the desert. It probably wasn't a whole lot different from the way he felt himself now. Kate Barlow had left his great-grandfather to face the hot, barren desert. The warden had left Stanley to face Mr. Sir. Somehow his great-grandfather had survived for 17 days before he was rescued by a couple of rattlesnake hunters. He was insane when they found him. When he was asked how he had lived so long, he said he found refuge on God's thumb. He spent nearly a month in a hospital. He ended up marrying one of the nurses. Nobody ever knew what he meant by God's thumb, including himself. Stanley heard a twitching sound. He stopped in mid-step with one foot still in the air. A rattlesnake lay coiled beneath his foot. Its tail was pointed upward, rattling. Stanley backed his leg away, then turned and ran. The rattlesnake didn't chase after him. It had rattled its tail to warn him to stay away. Thanks for the warning, Stanley whispered as his heart pounded. The rattlesnake would be a lot more dangerous if it didn't have a rattle. Hey, caveman, called Armpit. You're still alive. What'd the warden say? Asked X-Ray. What'd you tell her? Asked Magnet. I told her I stole the seeds, said Stanley. Good going, said Magnet. Well, what'd she do? Asked Zigzag. Stanley shrugged one shoulder. Nothing. She got mad at Mr. Sir for bothering her. He didn't feel like going into details. If he didn't talk about it, then maybe it didn't happen. He went over to his hole, and to his surprise, it was neatly finished. He stared at it, amazed. It didn't make sense. But perhaps it did. He smiled. Since he had taken the blame for the sunflower seeds, he realized the other boys had dug his hole for him. Hey, thanks, he said. Don't look at me, said X-Ray. Confused, Stanley looked around, from Magnet to Armpit to Zigzag to Squid. None of them took credit for it. Then he turned to Zero, who had been quietly digging in his hole since Stanley's return. Zero's hole was smaller than all the others. All right, so that was chapter 20 and 21. I want you to think about, why did Zero shovel the pit for him, or the hole for him, okay? And think about what you would have done in that situation if you were either Stanley or Zero. Would you have told the warden exactly what happened? Or would you have covered for him to fit in? That's something you need to ask yourself. Okay, so as you can see, Mr. Shiny got a brand new hat. I really, really like this hat. Once I saw a YouTube clip of this team playing, I fell in love with the hat. I thought it was really cool. As you can see, I'm not going to tell you what team it is. I want you to try to figure it out for yourself what kind of animal this is. that's featured on here, and what Major League Baseball team has this as their logo. Once you find that out, I want you to tell me some of the famous players that have played for them. Maybe name a couple of former Milwaukee Brewers that have played for them, and what stadium they play in, what state they play in, and what city they play in, and if they've ever made the World Series. Okay? So anyways, hope you guys are doing good. I will be uploading another video soon shortly. Hope you guys had a great Mother's Day. I love you. I miss you. And we're going to be dropping off some brownies on Tuesday and Thursday for my class. Unfortunately, I can't do it for all the fourth graders and all the fifth graders. It would take me too long, and my wrists would probably fall off from beating the brownie mixtures and stuff like that. So looking forward to seeing you guys. Love you guys. Bye.